Hello there, I'm Connie.
Hello, I'm Dobbs.
Welcome to The Worry Book, a podcast for anyone who has ever worried about anything ever. In each episode, we'll be exploring a subject that we worry about while trying not to make matters worse or falling out with each other. This week, we're worrying about drinking. Come join us.
Hey.
So, Dobbs.
Hello, yes.
Do you worry about your drinking?
Usually. Yes.
When do you tend to worry about your drinking?
I tend to worry if I'm running out. I generally worry if I should or shouldn't drink. I generally worry if I've drunk too much. I generally worry
quite a lot. It would seem. Yeah. And when we say drinking, for clarification, we are talking about alcohol rather than
indeed
tea or other beverages. So we've established that you're quite a worrisome drinker. Would you say?
Well, no. I kind of said that for comic effect a little
bit.
Oh,
right. Oh, it worked.
I just, no. Yes, I don't know. It just depends.
I worry about drinking, just in case you were wondering.
Okay.
Hence why I thought it might be a good subject for this podcast.
Tell me your main fears.
Okay. So probably my main fear is that I talk shit when I drink. And I get to this beautiful point where I no longer feel in control, which is wonderful as someone who worries. But then I have the concern still niggling somewhere, although the voice is very, very tiny, that's saying, you're now talking shit and I'm going to make you worry about that, but probably not until you wake up tomorrow morning.
Uh-huh.
And then I have that memory, which worries me.
Okay.
And then, various situations that I might get myself in, talking to strangers, dancing wildly, falling over, and general irrational thinking.
Okay. See, I just worry that that I might dance. I definitely wouldn't want that for myself or for anyone who might actually...
I don't think I've ever really seen you dance.
No, and you've seen me drunk.
I have, but you've never gone there.
But if I'm dancing, then that's...
Okay, is that another level?
3 sheets to the wind. Yeah, absolutely.
What sort of dancing would you be doing if you were really
I would probably
gone?
a bit of dad dancing, a bit of body popping, probably that thing where you do the break dancing thing where you lie on the floor and you kind of
the worm
move around a bit. No, I do that bit where you kind of go around like a cross between a compass and a sundial, and you kind of go around in circles.
Oh, on your back, kind of like kicking your legs in the air like a beetle.
No, I wouldn't get that far. I'd do that one where you kind of swap your arms and legs.
That reminds me, weirdly, of the time that I decided it would be a good idea to dance at a wedding. And as most people would expect, it was a wedding that was quite heavily fueled by alcohol. And I decided it would be a great idea to invite, or shall we just say drag, a friend's young child, up onto the dance floor with me to enjoy my entertainment. And the only thing I can really say is that it was obvious to me the child wasn't particularly into it, but it wasn't until the child's mother came over and said, "Don't you ever take my child anywhere ever again," that I realised that perhaps my enthusiasm had been
the authorities
misplaced.
Weren't called, though. You got
the authorities weren't called, no, but I was encouraged to leave. Okay. And that was the second wedding actually that I'd been encouraged to leave. There was quite a large amount of time in between the two. The first one was when I kept insisting that an actor who was the friend of the bride's parents was actually a different actor, because in my head, in my adult state, that's the face that I saw, and I could only remember this other actor's name, and so I
What
just
was
kept
the actor's name?
Pete Postlethwaite.
But it wasn't Pete Postlethwaite.
It wasn't Pete Postlethwaite.
Okay.
It was another actor whose name I still can't remember, and I just kept shouting in his face, "You're Pete Postlethwaite." And however, I mean, probably 5 or 6 times he and his wife had to tell me that he wasn't. And you know, I think I was also getting very huggy.
Okay.
And then at that point, a sort of a small crowd developed around me, and then the bride, unfortunately, the bride, who probably had a lot more important things to do at that point, given that it was her wedding, had to ask me to leave, which I did, but unfortunately I ended up leaving my bag, my coat, and one of my shoes.
That's a pretty impressive result.
Yeah.
So
you see, I worry about things like that. It doesn't mean that I don't do them, but, you know, it's kind of they're there as little reminders now of what could happen. But as you know, I'm not currently drinking, so
no,
this isn't an issue for me right now.
No,
although
so
I can still recount.
You could still go.
Some
You could go
horrors.
to a wedding without fear. Well, I don't know actually.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting to do that sober. I'm not sure what it would be like, but I'd be willing to give it a go.
I suppose it would depend on the wedding. Yeah. So that's your worry is that how it affects your behaviour.
Yeah, generally being a tit.
Okay.
Oh, and also that I can't do hangovers anymore. I know everyone says that, and I noticed there was a period of time when lots of my friends were they weren't necessarily giving up drinking, but they were they got to a point in their lives where, you know, I think they wanted to have an excuse to kind of calm down a bit. And so lots of people started saying, "Oh, I don't drink anymore because I just can't do hangovers," you know. And to me, that just seemed really lame. It was like, well, you know, that's the price you pay. You know, you get wasted, you feel like shit the next day, but, you know, it's
the booze tariff.
C'est la vie.
Yeah.
So lots of people were saying that. And then after, I would say, a fairly consistent run of horrific, vomit-inducing, pot noodle-inspiring, Ribena-guzzling hangovers, I just decided they were right. And I can't do them anymore either. So that's part of the reason.
Shortly after you met me?
Not shortly. It has coincided.
Okay.
But yeah, so I have a lot to thank you for, really.
And how's it going?
In some ways.
So
you might not thank me.
I don't. Why? It's fine by me.
Let me just have a glug on my non-alcoholic beer.
Glug. As a friend of mine said, non-alcoholic beer. It's like watching porn for the story. So good story.
Yes, yeah. I can. Yeah, I can see that analogy. But yeah, no, I'm happy with how it's going. I think I'm not going to go there and be all boring like, I've done 60 days sober. I've done 60 days sober. Oh my God, that sounded like Trump.
It did a bit. Please don't go there.
I won't.
Don't start becoming
Trump-like. I definitely won't.
No, that would be terrible. You know.
So yeah, those are my main things. The titness and the sickness. The titness and the sickness.
Okay. What do I worry about drinking? I don't know.
Well, do you recall any incidents which perhaps have...
Well, I think probably part of it is the fact that I don't recall a lot of incidents. So I don't necessarily remember things. But I never really... I'm trying to think what... I've never sort of. It's a bit boring.
Do you just? Well, I could probably attest to this, but you get to a point where it's kind of the party's over, and you're just sat in the corner, like at that gig. You know, my favourite band.
Oh yes.
That we went to see the first time you met my sister.
Yeah,
so
and
it was
I had
like
a little sleep halfway through.
It was quite important.
Yeah.
And it wasn't halfway through. It was like right at the end. It was the absolute crescendo of the gig. It's what everyone was waiting for. You know, it was quite a small, intimate gig, and there I was, you know, fully participating. I was participating so much that the keyboard player handed me the set list because she wanted to recognise my contribution. Yeah. And I looked over to see whether, you know, you'd seen this, and, you know, you'd give me a little thumbs up, and right at the front of the fucking gig. I mean, you couldn't be if you weren't sat where you were sat, you would have been sat on the stage.
Well,
and it was so loud.
I wasn't snoring.
No, I don't mean your snoring was so loud.
Oh, that's
well, you might have been snoring.
Sober or drunk, that doesn't really matter. That the noise has never bothered me when it comes to sleeping.
You were out.
If it's going about sleeping, then yeah, where else have I slept? I remember being dragged into a garden once because we'd been to a friend of mine who organises nightclub discotheque type of affairs, and I'd been there, and then we went back to a party afterwards where he lived.
Sorry, do you mean a rave, by the way? Was that just like code for a rave? Or...
Not really, just I don't know what it was.
He's a nighttime entertainer.
He put on like nights, you know.
Oh, nights.
Yeah. So so we went back to his party, and obviously at some point I'd fallen asleep on a couch or something. Somebody there had asked if anyone knows this guy who's asleep. I didn't live in the town at that point, so nobody did other than Dave, my friend Dave. But he thought it'd be funny to say, no, I don't know him. So at some point they actually dragged me out into the garden, at which point he actually said, yeah, I do actually, he's one of my oldest friends. So, but they let it go that far. I once got woken up at a French metal festival of all things, about 4 o'clock in the morning, just lying in front of the stage, and by this French guy going, French security guy who worked there. And
no, I got that from the accent.
Yeah. Well, no, because it was a French festival, so yeah.
But
and then he realised, you must go back to your tent and whatever. So I was like, oh, okay. Checked, grabbed my phone and my wallet, stood up, went back to my tent. Brilliant.
So no problem. So you had a good night.
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah.
Time for bed. Front of the what was it? A mosh pit.
Yeah, I think Slayer had just played and a few bands like that.
So it's pretty full on.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Was anyone else sort of in a similarly dozy state to you, or?
Well, I don't know. I went with my mate Kev, and every morning there was a bit of a ritual of it'd be like Pete or Kev or whoever would wake up first, and when everyone went, yeah, it was we cheered because we made it back to the tent at some point.
Yeah.
And where else? And the amount of times I've woken up at wrong stations. Went from Lancaster to Manchester, about an hour journey.
Yeah.
Via Milton Keynes.
Wow. Once. That's a detour.
Yeah. And woke up at Manchester Airport quite a few times.
Have you ever ended up in sidings? Like overnight?
Not in sidings, no. I don't think they really do that.
I've heard rumours of that happening. Sure that's true. I once got a train back with somebody who had made a sign out of a kind of chalkboard and put it around his neck with the name of the stop that he needed to get off at, so he could fall asleep and then kind of rely on the goodness of strangers to...
Did that work?
To nudge him awake. I mean, I would have done, but I wasn't in his sort of direct vicinity, but I don't know. I didn't see if it happened, but I just thought it was very trusting. Because if he was in such a state that, you know, he got a chalkboard around his neck, then you can just imagine someone going, "Oi, mate, here you go," and then he'd stumble off, and then he'd be in the middle of bloody nowhere, like having just missed the last train.
I also know someone who did that and was listening to his iPod or whatever, and fell asleep and woke up and gone was the iPod.
Really? And he hadn't
Yeah.
even noticed?
No, he was hammered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a worry.
I've been quite lucky. Woke up in the back of an ambulance. That's probably not brilliant. But I was, yeah.
Do you want to talk any more about that?
Yeah,
Or...
I met a friend, went to the pub. We're going back home, and he lived maybe 200 yards away from where I was, which is not very far whatsoever. And he left me, and apparently I was fine, drunk but fine. And then within that 100 yards of me going in that direction, I decided I was going to sleep by by a hedgeway. And then shortly after that, the first thing I know, I'm being woken up in the back of a hospital. I presume they give me oxygen or something, which sort of resuscitated me. And I felt,
you were an incident.
And I was all like brightly, wide-eyed, and I had to say, look, I live there, literally pointing outside of the ambulance to where I lived.
So had you fallen asleep outside your house?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's just that final...
Yeah,
that final push.
So they weren't very happy, and rightly so. I'm not proud of wasting their time, but and then I had to sign a release form or whatever, so they could let me go.
Yeah,
because they wanted to take me to the hospital, but I hadn't fallen or anything like that. There was no injuries.
Yeah.
And then I woke up the next day to go to work a few hours later, as you do.
Hardcore.
As you do. And I thought that's weird, but whatever. I went to work. And then I was wearing the same coat or whatever, and put my hand in my pocket and brought out the release form, because I thought, I've just made that up. I've dreamt that.
But there was evidence.
Yeah, there was evidence.
There was proof that you'd had interaction with the emergency services.
Yes.
It sounds like you weren't too much of a burden, and it sounds like...
No, but they could have been doing better things.
They checked you out, and they did you... But did that make you sort of think twice about anything, or...?
I wish I could say yes. But not
ultimately,
massively.
no.
I mean, to be honest, and it's going to be comedy gold, it wasn't really a good time in my life, and it was probably fueled as much by depression as it was alcohol. And when you mix those two, you've got something special.
Classic combo.
Oh yes, you know.
Yeah.
Let's face it, if you don't care whether you wake up or not, then you can get up to all kinds of shit.
I think there's a lesson there.
Absolutely,
I can
kids.
feel our audience resonating.
I'm encouraging it, kids.
Let's just say that again. We're not encouraging that, kids.
No, we're not encouraging that.
But we do acknowledge that the two can sometimes go hand in hand.
Yes, very much so.
Yes, sometimes with not particularly pleasant consequences.
Not at all.
With the old brain-numbing juice.
Anyway, this is fun.
No, this is fun. We've taken it to a bit of a different place, but that's good. I was going to lighten the mood with just a couple more anecdotes that I remembered. There was the time that I was rather unwell in the back of a taxi. Black cab drivers are notoriously fastidious about the cleanliness of their taxis, and so when I arrived at my destination, I was told that I needed to pay £50 for the clean up of what I would say was a fairly small puddle, but it was a puddle nonetheless, maybe a bit of a chunky puddle. And so I didn't have £50 on me. It's debatable whether I had £50 to my name, but ever resourceful, I went inside. I said, wait. In fact, I don't remember doing that, but I'm sure I have. Wait. That's probably what I did.
Yeah.
And because I wanted him to wait, I knew that I had to do something. I didn't want to not atone for my actions. So I went in my house and I got my checkbook. So we're going back some time now. Appreciate this is, I've learned a lot since then. But I went and got a checkbook and I couldn't find a pen. So I wrote him a check for £50 in pencil and then handed it to him.
In pencil?
In pencil.
Which he could rub out and make
which he
into
could rub out,
figure
and
whatsoever.
or just with a quick swoosh, he could turn that into 50 grand. I mean, obviously, you know.
Did he cash that? Did that money actually come out?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did. And it was to the tune of £50.
Okay.
So, you know, for which I'm not happy, but, you know, I feel like, you know, we're back on even ground. But yeah, pencil. That would be allowed now.
I don't think it's probably allowed then, to be honest. But obviously, if the money went out, it obviously worked.
This is the best I'm going to get. It's
right.
either that or the massive Smirnoff bottle of 2p's was going to be smashed in the middle of the road as I tried to pay him in coppers. That was probably my second choice, was going in and just, scrabbling around.
This is it. Alcohol, you can just act like an absolute idiot. Absolute idiot. I was going to tell you a story about a friend of mine, but then that makes
Is it really a friend? Or is it you?
No, this is a friend.
Okay.
But now I'm effectively calling my friend an idiot, and I'm not. I'm not saying that. But he got a taxi from another friend's house where I was, and he got back, realised he didn't have his wallet or his keys or anything. So then got out of the taxi, kicked his front door in, and then went in and said to the taxi driver, "I'll be back out," and then never came back out, and he got blackballed for that. Anyway,
what does that mean?
As in,
the taxi driver wouldn't pick him up.
Yeah, it basically was banned from
all
the taxi drivers.
That's serious.
And he had to go and pay and apologise or whatever he had to do. But yeah, but anyway, as it happens, apparently his wallet and his keys were in his pocket all the time.
Even better.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
But that's a classic one though. I don't know whether men do it as much as women, but there's that classic kind of, you know, I don't have a massive handbag, or, you know, I don't think I carry a huge amount of stuff around with me, but I've got the usual, you know, like wallet, phone, tampons, maybe a bit of makeup, whatever. And there's that thing where you're like, right, it's in here. And the amount of times I've been on the floor, you know, on the pavement, you know, tipped everything out, probably had a bit of a wee at the same time because I'm desperate to get in. And, you know, and the keys must be in there. It must be in there. But you can't, you know, they've metamorphosized into material.
Yeah.
In the bag. So how does that, so that's a handbag. So how does that happen? So that can happen with pockets as well.
It can happen with absolutely anything.
Because it's like the more you search.
Alcohol is like the David Copperfield.
Yeah, it is.
It will hide the Statue of Liberty if it's given half a chance.
You're so right. Because it's almost like the more you look for it, the more hidden it becomes.
Absolutely.
And the more frantic you get, and the more little bit of wee comes out.
Yeah, you're getting obsessed with wee now. Is that quite a regular thing?
No, but I mean, I will say that there's been a couple of times where part of the reason why I've been so desperate to find the keys is because I need to get in and have a wee.
Well, that always happens. This is, you know...
And you might have been fine for you might not have had a wee for the last sort of 5.5 hours. In fact, that's probably why you need one now. But, you know, you've gone for like 5.5 hours. You've had the best time ever. You've been fine in the taxi. You've been having a good old chit-chat with the taxi driver. My classic was to always have a bit of a chit chat with the cab driver and always say, "Can you put Kiss on?" And you know me.
Kiss on?
Kiss FM.
Oh, Kiss FM, not the Kiss the band.
No, not Kiss the band.
No,
that would have had some credibility. But
no. Well, let's not go into that. But, yeah.
But no, so and you know me, I hope, I would describe myself as, well, you know, not necessarily a typical Kiss FM listener.
No,
with its kind of, you know, slightly more R&B sort of like dance focus, whereas I'm more your sort of indie schmindy, shoegazy, jingly jangly,
100%.
Poppy type stuff.
110%.
But that doesn't. There is no such thing as 110%. We can talk about that another time because that worries me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That worries me daily.
That's why I said it.
Daily. But yeah, as soon as I got in, it was like that was a way that I thought I could, I don't know, maybe I thought I could bond with the cab driver through Kiss FM. Maybe I thought it was like a universal music station where we
You
could
must have drank a lot.
obviously. But yeah, and then there was kind of, can I smoke in your cab? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And then I don't know how we're doing for time, but we might sort of look to round it off fairly shortly, because I've just thought of something which might be a nice end note.
Okay. I would just like to add, though, also once you're going home, that the genital regions definitely know when you're within, say, 100 yards of a toilet, because the need to go increases tenfold. It's unbelievable.
Minimum tenfold.
Yeah. Anyway, go on.
It was just about the time, and this kids, adults, any humans or animals listening, this is very dangerous, and I do not advise that anyone does this. But on one occasion, I invited a cab driver into my flat for a drink.
Oh, hello.
And
I think I've seen this on online.
Not Crime Watch.
No, I think it was.
Oh right, okay,
Yeah,
I see where you're going.
Yeah.
And we were stood in the kitchen, and it just immediately, with the lights on, was ridiculous. Why have I invited a cab driver up to my kitchen? I don't know. It's
Probably
even making
not for
me
the
nervous.
reason he thought you were inviting him.
It was for a chat. It was for a kind
Did you
of.
make that totally obvious?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that it was the right amount of friendly. And all I wanted to do was probably carry on this really nice, half incoherent conversation that we've been having in the taxi. So, yeah, there we were in the kitchen, lights blazing. And what do I do to decide to diffuse the situation?
Oh, I have no idea.
Well, what I decided to do is open the window and make use of the fox that is downstairs in the communal garden. And I divert the cab driver's attention by saying, look, there's a fox. And I lob it a pork pie.
You lob it a pork pie?
Yeah, I found a mini pork pie in the fridge, and I lobbed a pork pie at the fox. And at that point, fortunately, the cab driver said he had to go.
Right. That's also possibly, if anyone's getting unneeded attention from a taxi driver,
fox,
then
think pork pie.
Always keep a pork pie with you.
Yep.
It might just save it from, well, let's not go
there.
Let's
not go there, shall we?
Yes.
But, the perils of...
Well, thanks for sharing.
No, it's fine. Honestly, I feel slightly breathy, not in a good way, slightly tense, but ultimately relieved.
Good.
Which is how I felt on many a doorstep once I've found my keys.
On that note, should we call it a night?
Let's call it a night.
Okay.
Don't let the foxes bite.
Very good. Okay, goodbye.
See you next time. Bye-bye. Find The Worry Book on Twitter and Instagram, and if you like what you're hearing, don't forget to subscribe. We're also supporting Mind, the mental health charity. If you'd like to make a donation, visit mind.org.uk. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.